boy, are we lucky to count Jennifer Dorian as a member of our club. Last year, she served as President Yates's program chair. This year, she's serving as my vice president of community service. Boy, does she know how to put a program together and to challenge us to a call to action. As many of you know, Jennifer is the president and CEO at WABE. She has deep experience in real-world operations, strategic planning, and brand marketing from her time with brands including Turner Classic Movies, Coca-Cola, Pizza Hut, and the Atlanta Beltline Partnership. Jennifer served as general manager of Turner Classic Movies from 2014 to 2019, which capped off 20 years of growth at Turner. She's a graduate of Emory University and the University of Texas at Austin, go Dogs. She has mentored to many and has volunteered to numerous Atlanta not-for-profit organizations. She currently serves on the board of the Atlanta Music Project, the Atlanta Beltline Partnership, and the Path Foundation, having previously served on the marketing committee for the U.S. Fund for UNICEF and the board of the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau. Jennifer, will you do us the honor of introducing Mohammed and leading our discussion today on a story of resilience through change and adversity?
My pleasure. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure, and I will tell you, being programming chair last year, I spent so much time reading my email that I now have to wear glasses when I read. So that's a lasting impact. Today is so exciting because we get to spend time with an exceptional human, and Mohammed Massaquoi is an outstanding former athlete, a model of resilience, and an accomplished entrepreneur, organizational psychologist, and leadership coach. He now lives in Atlanta with his young family and runs his own organizational development consulting firm, Vessel. His story begins in Charlotte, North Carolina, which he'll tell us a little bit about. And he's the son of Liberian parents who located here. And during his 4 years playing high school football in Charlotte, he was on a team that had 0 losses, won every game, and went to the state championships and won 4 years in a row. That must have been a ride. Want to hear about that. Many people in this room realize that he chose the University of Georgia for his academics and his football career. And during that time, I'll talk some stats for you. He achieved 158 catches, 2,200 yards, and 16 touchdowns, which ranks as the 4th best in the history of the school. That seems pretty impressive to me. I don't know. The Emory football team is still undefeated. In 2009, Mohammed was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. He was the 50th overall pick in the 2nd round. And Mohammed was the Browns' leading receiver during his rookie season with 34 catches, including an NFL best in the week 4 with 148 receiving yards on 8 catches. I hope I did that right. In his 4 years with the Browns, Mohammed caught a total of 118 passes and 7 touchdowns. Incredible. He then went on to the Jets, to the Jaguars, and then, you may know, in 2017, he suffered a very shocking and severe accident. And that gave him the opportunity to experience a lot of change and demonstrate a lot of resilience. And he's here to share with us the lessons of that and the mindset that he has developed over this time. So Atlanta Rotary Club, please help me welcome Mohammed Massaquoi. Welcome to our forum.
How are y'all doing today?
We're excited.
See a lot of friends out here.
Yes, definitely, a lot of friends. Well, I think it's good to go from the beginning. So tell us about growing up in North Carolina with parents from Liberia.
Yeah, so my story actually starts in Liberia. My family left a civil war in the 80s, and so even to be here right now is truly an honor. We used to watch videos of kids that would have been my age, and they had limbs blown off, the buildings shattered. You know, my mom was just trying to check on her home country. And so just having the opportunity to exist is something that I don't take for granted. I don't take lightly. And so just being in that environment, you learn that life has meaning. You should make it purposeful. You should always attack every opportunity that you get. We grew up very humbly. Took to sports as a kid like a lot of kids do. I love competition, and so basketball, football is something that I love to do. That eventually led to Independence High School, where I got the opportunity to be coached by a guy by the name of Tommy Knotts. He's won like 21 straight championships during our era. There was 109 games in a row, 7 straight. And he would always say, do not compromise on your goals. If you have a goal, you go hunt it down. And so that was our mindset. It still informs the way that I do life today. Like, you put a goal out there, you go hunt it down, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the situation. And so that led to University of Georgia. Go Dogs. We got to get that out the way.
Let me hear the Sheffield say woof. Well, that's two extremes. I got to pause on that. Like, growing up, you had war and relatives back in Liberia. Did you ever visit Liberia?
Yes, I did. So my grandma lives there. She's actually here in America right now. But you go back, we're from the very rural part of Liberia. And so just hearing her stories of how they had to, eat off trees and they had to, drink water out the river when the war was going on. There's just so much gratitude for some of the opportunities that we have here in America that we don't have some of those challenges. And so I never make excuses or I never complain when things aren't going right, knowing what it could be.
That probably made you wiser than your years. I mean, imagine the heaviness of that in contrast to the glorious victories that you were having. 129 games in a row?
109.
109. Yeah. That's pretty remarkable. So the way you kind of internalized all that, you think was gratitude or the realization how special?
It's the ability to understand that life is going to present challenges at times. But when those challenges aren't at your doorstep, that's when you're supposed to go create something that's meaningful. And I try to do that in every aspect of life.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the intensity. When you see an opportunity, you really go for it. It's my understanding.
Yeah.
So was it hard for you to choose the University of Georgia?
No, I think what Georgia represented to me was an opportunity to have life after sports, to have a opportunity to reach my dream, to have great relationships. I think it's what everyone wants when they make a decision. And so for me, that was the best decision. Being able to go to a place where I could graduate, be the first in my family, have an opportunity to play professional football, have teammates that would push me, help me grow, have a education that would allow me to thrive after. And so that combination of things, athletes aren't one-dimensional. We want a lot, and Georgia afforded me that opportunity.
When you're on the team, are there different camps of different people with different attitudes about the training and the intensity, and what do you opt into? No,
so from just like a talent selection standpoint, the University of Georgia and a lot of premier programs are trying to find talent that's similar. They're highly competitive. They believe in teams. They're highly coachable. They want to win. They're very, very competitive. And so when you have those people that are all working towards the same goals, it just breeds excellence a lot of times. And we share knowledge with each other. We share hardships with each other. We share victory with each other. And I think that is something that you want in those team environments. And so you're always growing. Even now, some of my best friends are my teammates because they've retired and they're trying to figure out how to excel in life after sports.
That just makes me think about you as an organizational development person, like looking at teams and thinking about how do you get a team mindset to be that focused and competitive and all that. Does that play into some of your coaching that you do today?
When you think about it, so Georgia won. Kirby coached well, the team performed well. The University of Georgia, everyone that is a fan of Georgia shares in that victory. Everything is so equally yoked and success is shared by everybody. We all have the same goal. That doesn't always happen in organizations where people are incentivized to work together. And I'm talking about top to bottom, where if someone's contact falls out, the equipment manager is going to come in to get the stuff over there. Everyone knows how they fit into this aspect of success. And without knowing that, I think it just breeds for people to start to become selfish. But if I know me contributing to the team is going to allow us to win a national championship, which then allows me to get drafted after I'm going to chance to meet and engage with all the alums, like everyone is on the same team at the end of the day.
That makes perfect sense. So aligned incentives and one team, one goal, that makes a lot of sense. It seems pretty universal. Okay, so I heard you say that being an NFL athlete is about being a pro athlete, not just a good athlete. So tell us a little bit about the difference between a good athlete and a pro athlete.
So what's interesting about professional sports is that hard work doesn't really get you anything. Everybody works hard. It's kind of just the price of entry. Talent doesn't actually get you anything because everyone is extremely talented. It's more about insights and will. And from an insight standpoint, do you know more than the opponent knows about what's going to have victory? Do you know enough about yourself to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are? Do you know enough about your opponent from a game plan standpoint? And you have to know all that because the game is moving so fast. Things are happening 3 to 5 seconds on any given play. And so you don't have the time, the luxury to sit there and process everything. So you have to know this stuff before you get into it. And then from a will standpoint, it's not a mindset thing. It's not like people are just showing up motivated, and that's what gets them over the hurdle. It's like, are you going to exert your will on this situation in ways that other people can't? And are you going to do that over and over and over and over again? Because something's going to break. There are no moral victories in sports. And so whoever can do that the longest is eventually going to win the championship. And the thing about that is you have to put the work in before you actually get to the game, because you don't get bigger, you don't get faster, you don't game plan in the moment of truth. And so you're doing all these things prior to the game even taking place right now for the next week. And that will, somebody's will is going to break, and whoever doesn't break eventually wins.
So let's talk about what you just said. It implies perseverance, preparation, discipline. Are those three the things you felt like helped set you up for the NFL? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I would say stacking quality decisions and behaviors on top of each other, because the NFL is a 15-year journey from 7 to 22. And so you don't wake up at Georgia, or you see this every year where we're going to do a combine, we're going to do a pro day, and there's going to be people that then they start to get ready. They're going to start to train harder. They're going to start to eat better. They're going to start to take care of their body. Well, it's already too late, because there's been somebody that's been 7, 8, 9 years old, and they've had this laser focus, and they're going to be the ones that eventually reach it. And then once you get to the NFL, there's someone that understands how to take it even further. And so each year we're replenishing talent. Each year somebody's trying to take your job. And so you have to stay on top of your game if you want to last.
That seems extremely relevant. Stacking quality decisions on top of each other. I can do that. Do you think I can?
I think anyone can.
That's right.
If you desire to, because
right.
No one's trying to motivate you in sports. They just fire you and replace you with someone that's younger and cheaper. And so if you, it's kind of the way of the world, right? If you want to be there, you're self-selecting in to say, this is the thing that I want, this is the thing I work for, and you're accountable to yourself.
I love that. I got to talk to Mo, as some friends call you, on Friday, and I really took away that whole opting in to your job that you have every day and stacking quality decisions and putting effort in every day, not taking for granted the position I'm in. Like you said,
I mean, if you think about this stage right now, you can replace me with a number of people in the world. And so if I'm going to be on this stage, I have to want to be here. If not, I'm going to waste your time. I'm going to waste my time. I'm going to waste a ton of opportunities. And so every time you get a chance to perform, you want to make sure that you're performing at a high level and continuing to do that. And then over time, you'll say, wow, I've grown. Things have continued to evolve. But if not, you're just wasting time.
Can you tell us a little more about being in a community of competitors? Because I think that could also translate to the business world where everybody's striving, but also you have a group goal, but you also have individual goals. What are some of the tensions that come up in that?
I'll paint a picture for you. There's 1,698 people that play in the NFL. There's not a lot of people. There's 0.0001% of the population. And that number is somewhat misleading because there's a lot of people who are going to hold roster spots for a long time. And so in any given year, let's say there's 500 people that come up. And so the odds of success of saying I want to be a professional athlete are very low. But a lot of my friends are professional athletes. And so to me, that number is actually high. And so where community comes in, if you're surrounding yourself around people that are high performing, high achieving, y'all are all going to rise together. And not everybody's going to put that same amount of work in. And so something where the possibility of success seems very low, or the probability of success seems very low, it's still highly possible for a select group of people that are doing the work and working together. And there are no hero's journey. Like, we're all a part of this community. Anyone that thinks that they're going to go at it alone is probably going to fail, because there's certain insights that we don't have. But if I can lean on you for media, or I can lean on someone for finance, and I can lean on someone for healthcare, I become almost failure-proof, because my community is going to fill in the blanks for me.
Love that. So I've heard you talk a lot about stacking mentors as well. So stacking good decisions and stacking up the mentors. How do you find your mentors?
I think through life, honestly. I think I'm looking around and there's several people that I could put on the spot right now that have just been there for me where we've had conversations. I think the relationship has to be pure. If it's artificial, someone isn't going to get what they need out of a relationship. Someone's going to feel overexerted. I think your interests have to be aligned. Your values have to be aligned. I think when someone gives you advice, you actually act on that advice so they realize they're not wasting their time. I think the ability to add value to them from your perspective is important. And then naturally just growing. It's not like I need a mentor just for this season of life. I need a mentor throughout. And then there's mentors for different things. Sometimes it's business, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's health and wellness. And the more you collect these individuals and you continue to do life with them, you are both growing and evolving.
Super. So all the wisdom we were just discussing, I think, happened before 2013. This was built, your leadership, your college and pro sports experiences, and then really the unthinkable happened for you. So take us through what the accident was and how you dealt with it.
So April 14, 2017, I was riding ATVs 2 hours east of here, and just the joy of wanting to be out in the land, be out with some of my friends, recharge. Unfortunately, ATV lost control, flipped over, shattered my left hand. Just very gruesome accident. And to paint a picture, the thing that I was known for, the ability to catch footballs, is the thing that I lost. And so if you lose the thing that makes you you, it takes a toll on you, mentally, physically, emotionally. I didn't have a kid. I'm thinking about all these things in the future. Am I going to be able to play catch with my kid? Am I going to be able to dress myself? All the things that I lost. But a couple interesting things happened when I was in the hospital. If you're in the medical industry, I kept hearing code blue. They would draw my blood, let's say 3 a.m., 3 p.m. And I'd ask the nurse, what does code blue mean? And she says, every time you hear that, somebody went into cardiac arrest. And so I had this thought that I'm eventually going to get out of this hospital. What am I going to do with life after it? Not everybody's going to be able to leave. And for perspective, I was 30 when the accident happened. My grandma right now is 85. My great-grandma lived to 96. And so I started to think I may have only gotten a third out of my life. Am I going to be defined by the first third, or am I going to make sure the second 2/3 are more dynamic? And so that perspective has just kind of shaped me to just go for it, even though there was a crazy loss attached to it.
How were you surrounded? Did you have a couple of really important people in your life, or were you surrounded by a large group of people during the hospital and early recovery?
The community, to be honest with you. It's I hadn't had a haircut in 3 months and someone sends a barber to the house. It's my wife taking care of me when I wake up in the middle of the night and having anxiety attacks and I'm crying. It's the friend that tells me to go work out because I lost 20 pounds. It's the person that directs me to ideas of what I want to do professionally. It's all encompassing. It's not one person. I don't think you can put the weight of the world on one person. It's everybody in this room working together. And that feels like sport because we're always trying to push each other to get better. Something that interesting happens in the off season, athletes train with each other, even though they're on opposing teams. And you're trying to help each other. Even though you're competing with each other, there's this love of excellence. There's this love of the craft. And you want to continue to elevate the level of everyone's performance. And I've benefited from that tremendously.
Did you find that, how tough was the initial trauma, and was that 6 months, or emotionally, how did you work through this reality?
So there's two. So there's the physical, where I had 12 surgeries, and that probably happened over 2.5 months. And so it's very painful. You're in and out of surgery all the time. But 6-7 months, the pain of surgery kind of goes away. The thing that's actually the hardest is the mental battle. And you can run away from that, you can try to suppress it, you can distract yourself, but it's going to keep appearing until you actually deal with it. And the most interesting thing that I found is I went to go get true therapy counseling from someone that was licensed. I wanted to talk about the accident, and this person wanted to talk about life. And there's a lot of stuff just from life that wasn't cleaned up that, if I'm being honest, probably impacted some of the way that I played football, probably impacted some of the other decisions that I made. And so being able to clean up all that and not run from it, and it took years and years and years and years to where now there's not a lot of things that are going to rock me from the accident not a lot of things that are going to rock me from life because the dirty work has been done. And so I'd advise everybody to figure out like what are those things that are, hiccups for you and start to address it so that you can become whatever the best version of yourself is.
That just seems like you are not afraid of hard work, whether it's emotional or physical or, because that's a lot to take on.
What's the alternative?
That's right.
The alternative is being 7 years removed and still in the same place. The alternative is being in the community that I grew up in that, I don't want to live in. The alternative is understanding that you have the potential to do something great and looking back and realize you did not get what you wanted to out of that experience. And so I don't want to live with that. I don't, you don't regrow fingers, you don't regrow opportunities, you don't replay life. And so when you have the opportunity to deliver on it, even though it's nasty, it feels like camp, you're in those dog days, you do the work.
I'm so glad life prepared you for that kind of hard work when it came calling again. Tell us a little bit about the technology of your hand. Has it changed over time? How long have you had a prosthetic?
So it does. I'm
8
actually
years?
in the process of getting fitted for a new one, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
This is a myoelectric device. They put sensors in it. It opens, it closes. So thank God for technology. Everyone that's out there in the tech space continue to support it. Yeah.
Do your nerves activate your fingers?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So what happens is they put sensors on it, and let's say if you move your hand, there are electric currents that go through the device, and it picks up on it. So it's not like they're implanting things in your...
In the hand itself.
Correct.
It signals it.
Yes, correct.
Fantastic. You're living in a great era for prosthetics, right?
Yes.
At least the silver lining. Piedmont was your place, right?
Piedmont Hospital.
Yeah, so I thought I'd mention that. There's a lot out there about his work with Piedmont. So climbing back up again, so to speak, you recovered emotionally and physically. What was the next thing? Was probably discovering your passion for the next chapter?
Yes, and I retired during 2014, and just for context, when athletes retire, it's hard because you've invested all this effort to be one of the best in the world at this thing, but you can only play this thing for a limited part of time. And so while you're able to add value in other areas, you just haven't spent the time to truly understand it. And so my first thing was like, I want to understand what's happening in tech. And it's like, tech is a little too fast for me. Then I wanted to understand the finance world because a lot of athletes go broke. And I was like, I don't want that to happen. And so I went to Morgan Stanley. When the accident happened, it was the first time I actually stopped and said, who am I? What do I want to become? And this intersection of people, this intersection of change, this intersection of performance is a thing that has just been a passion of mine for my entire life. The problem was I wasn't necessarily skilled there. And I found that out. I was at a dinner with a private equity guy, and he wanted me to do a team building activity. So the dinner goes well, and at the end of the dinner, he says, are you qualified to do this work? I'm like, what? Are you serious? But it really made me look internally and say, I don't know if I can answer that question. I think I can answer that question, but I hate the way that this question felt. And so I'm gonna make sure that anytime I get asked this question, I've done the work on the front end. And I think everybody's getting asked that question some way or another, like, are you qualified for this opportunity that's coming up? I don't wanna be on the wrong side of that equation. And so I had to go.
So how did you build that up, the resume of organizational psychologist?
So a few things. So I went back to school, just to understand the more technical aspect of it. So went back to Georgia. Harvard has a executive MBA program. Did that because I didn't feel as competent in business as I wanted to. And when you're sitting across from someone and they're like, hey, this is a real business problem. They don't really want the fluffy stuff. They want to know that you understand the problem in and out. Surrounded myself with really great mentors. When I had a problem, I could go to them first. I'm not going into anything sight unseen. It's going to be stress tests prior to whatever's taking place, and you want really great mentors, and you're wanting an informed perspective as well, so that you're making the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, so when you're counseling clients about organizational development and you use academic models or classic models, is it easy to compare it to life experiences you've had?
What's interesting is most people just need a different way to look at the problem. Most people are already smart enough. They already have the insights. They already have the team. Is the team sharing institutional knowledge? This group knows something that group doesn't know, and they just haven't understood how to put it together. or they've been so stuck on a different way of doing it, or the previous way of doing it, to just getting them to embrace a new way. It's not actually about finding solutions. It's about helping them discover what they want to do in a different way across their team.
That's cool. It sounds like the leader has to embrace change management a little bit to kickstart whatever changes happen.
Yes, because the unknown is scary. Like if you were to tell me I had to lose my hand to grow into the person that I am now, I would not have made that trade-off. But I don't even know if I get to this place that I am now without losing my hand. And so not everybody's comfortable with that ambiguity of what is it going to take to get to the other side. Once you become comfortable with that, you open up the possibility for a lot of things. And from I guess psychologists would call this like match quality. There's certain things that match my skill set better than others. And if you can help leaders understand this thing is evergreen and it matches your skill set, there's such a long runway to go, but it's just getting comfortable with that.
Very cool. Now, I wanted to get your questions ready. I think we have the microphone right there. I have a question, which is, being an organizational psychologist, does that make you a better dad? Do you feel equipped in your family organization?
Absolutely not. My daughter does not think I'm cool half the times. But it's an honor to be a dad, to be able to just be present with someone that just wants to be loved, to be able to shape, a person to just be the best that she wants to be. And there's not any expectations. I'm going to support her in all her endeavors to let her figure out what life is.
Yeah, what her football is versus pushing something on her sports or...
She's a creative. She's into fashion. Whatever she wants to be great at, she's going to get the full support from our family.
Lucky girl.
Jennifer, should we turn it open
Yeah.
to the audience?
Yeah,
for
please,
Q&A?
come on up.
Lots of people lining up.
Excellent.
PJ, you're up first. From one footballer to another.
So I'll start out, go Jackets. Mohammed, I've seen you speak a number of times, Leadership Atlanta and other events. First of all, thank you for your heart and all of the work that you do.
Thank you. Hey. A dog and a jacket can work together.
That's right. That's right. I actually have two questions for you. The first is, when people go through a catastrophic, life-changing, whether it's an accident, the death of a loved one, a diagnosis, an accident, whatever it may be, a lot of times some people will spiral negatively and some people will spiral positively. And the work that you're doing, obviously, you've taken that energy and that event and turned it into something unbelievably positive. I'm curious what you would say would be the difference between that negative spiral and that positive spiral. That's the first part, and I think it's probably going to be related. My second question is going to be related. You've mentioned community a number of times, and there's a community in this room. So when we're around people that have dealt with those types of issues, what can the community do to be supportive of someone like you that's going through that catastrophic, life-changing event?
The first part of that question is purpose towards a greater future. If you lose hope in the future, things go bad because you're trying to get purpose in negative ways. But if you have purpose that whatever's on the other side of this is going to be really incredible, that is promising. Now, where you need the community is sometimes you don't know how to frame that for yourself because you're in it. And what the community can do is give you answers to the test. And the more those answers to the test you get, you make progress. And then as you look over time, that progress has now gotten you out of this dark place to like a neutral place. And then from that neutral place, you can build on it as a launching pad to go somewhere else.
Thank you.
Mohammed, congratulations. I want to talk about high school and your experience there. At Independence High School, you won state championships from 2000 to 2007, and you didn't win any before that or since then. But there were changes in the coaches a little bit during that time, with an assistant being promoted, I think, and the head coach going to coach at Duke for a year. Could you talk about how the school achieved such dramatic success during those years, and the role between players and coaches, and then the fact that before that and after that, it hadn't happened again?
Wow, that's a great question. So, how do I want to? I think a coach sets the conditions for success, and the players have to buy into that, and they're actually the ones that take it over, to where we embrace the working hard in the weight room, we embrace competition. And so the coach was just this overarching mindset that he gave us, that if we do these things, we're going to have success. And I'll tell you a funny story. We had a rule, no matter how cold it got, we played on Friday nights, so it could be 20, 30 degrees, we wouldn't wear sleeves. And it was this, we're not going to let the elements dictate how we perform. And I played in Cleveland, Ohio, so freezing in Cleveland. We had a few games where the wind chill was in the negatives, and so I wore sleeves. And I'm in the NFL, and my head coach calls me, and he's like, "I'm so disappointed in you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "You're letting the cold shape your mindset, and so you've already lost before you go out there." And if I'm honest, he was right, you know. And so once you start to move away from the things that make you you, and give you that competitive advantage, the mindset, the discipline, the work, but we were so locked in to this is the outcome that we're going to get. But to get that outcome, we all have to buy in and deliver on it.
So where did the players come from during that period of time, and what's eventually happened to the coaches when it ended in 2007 and there weren't any more state championships for the school?
So a lot of players went to the NFL. A lot of players played college football. There's only, if I would look at sports, there's only maybe 10% of professional sports that's truly elite. Think LeBron James, we're in Atlanta, so Julio Jones. Like, that's just rare air. The rest of it is who's worked the hardest, who's gotten the most breaks, like who's bought into the system the most. And as a result of that, he's taken these kids that had abilities similar to other people, and he just molded them. And we bought in, and we believed that the belief that you could get to college, the belief that you could get to the NFL is the thing that just drove us. And, you know, there's been a ton of guys that believe that, and they figured it out.
Keith.
Yes, good afternoon. And first, outstanding, just outstanding commentary. I saw you grow up. I lived in Charlotte and saw the great years that you and Chris Leak and Hakeem Nicks had at Independence, and was very proud of how you guys carried yourself. But I'm even more proud of you watching you right now. Just phenomenal stuff. You mentioned for kids, they play from age 7 to 22. They need to be laser focused. As a dad of 3 children, 2 in college age and an 11-year-old, and the 11-year-old is a multi-sport athlete. One of the decisions we had to make recently was he went off this AAU basketball team, and the coach told him, okay, you have to completely dedicate yourself to basketball. Can't play any other sports. So we immediately said, not a team for us, because I don't think 11-year-olds should be making that type of lifelong decision. How would you recommend, and how are you going to even parent your kids about how to keep the joy of the sport while still being laser focused to get the best of yourself?
Well, I think youth sports right now is a mess because of the early selection of a sport. And most of the athletes that I know are complete athletes. They could play anything. And you get these transferable skills of, I can take how I track a ball in baseball, I could take how I move in basketball, which allows me to be a better football player. And you see it, whether it's Patrick Mahomes or C.J. Stroud or some of the athletes we revere. It's too early to lock in because you don't even know how your body's going to grow and to develop. And it's the ability to not wear your body down in certain areas. But once again, you're not going to become a pro at 10. You'll become a pro later. But if you lock in too fast, you've missed the opportunity for growth. And so my daughter's going to play everything. And she's not going to get pushed to do anything. She's going to have to make that decision for herself. Because if you have to motivate someone, you have somebody on the other side that doesn't need any motivation, and it's going to be a very long day for that individual.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one final question.
Thank you. And congratulations, and good luck to you for all that is to come. I have no doubt there'll be wonderful accomplishments. The question I have relates to something you said earlier, and something that many of us have seen, and that is the inability of athletes to make the transition once they hang up the shoes, once they put the ball down. Jeff Teague is talking about it now. What can we do as parents, as coaches, as people in community to make sure that young people are as prepared for life off the field and off the court as we expect them to be prepared for when the bell sounds? Because too few people have a story like yours or like others that they were able to transition reasonably successfully into post-athletic life. The world is littered, my family is littered with former athletes that are still trying to find their way 30 years after they put their shoes away.
Wow, the thing that I realized is I don't need to approach the professional world like others. And I need to approach it in ways that I can add value. And so I understand teams, I understand individuals, I understand change. Let me operate in that vein, and if I do that, I can add value. It's no difference than a person that specializes in finance or specializes in marketing or specializes in technology. They figured out the thing. What athletes do a lot of times is they're trying to figure out, from an ego standpoint, what is the thing that gives me the most recognition? And that's dangerous versus starting at the ground level when we were 7, 8, 9, 10, and then figuring out how to stack on top of that. And the more you can do that, say, okay, I was elite here, I can't be elite over here, regardless of who you are. Let me learn and then build myself back up. And you almost slingshot yourself forward if you do that, because I've had to be on 4 a.m. calls before. And the person on the other side, they're like, oh, I can't believe you're waking up at 4. I'm like, I did that in college when I was up at 3 a.m. for workouts. And so there's certain transferable skills that once you figure out where to operate, you can thrive, but not if you're just trying to be whatever you think is going to sound the best.
Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you. Do you have one more question?
Yeah, I was going to point out, I know you do a lot of public speaking. Is there one call to action that you would want to share with all of us, either as we lead other people or to do our best?
I think a leader's job gets easier the more they empower people to succeed. And if you can align people to something, if you can give them the resources and really give them autonomy to do it in the way that they see, I think you'll be shocked and surprised. And so inspire, lead, give resources, and go change the world. So.
That's well said.
We're grateful. Thank you.
Hold up if you don't mind. Jennifer, thank you for leading us in that engaging conversation. We appreciate it very much. Next week, we'll be returning to the theme around the elections. Eric Tannenblant will be moderating a balanced panel with Theron Johnson and Brian Robinson, so we look forward to that. And then we will have Admiral Dennis Blair here talking about security challenges of the new administration. Don't forget World Polio Day on Thursday. Please continue to send in your messages on the season for service. And for those of you attending the board meeting, it'll be in the Duke Room. We all know how fastidious President Yates is about time, so be there promptly. Mohammed, thank you for inspiring us. It's I've jotted down like a page full of lessons. Don't let your community give up on hope, being one. Modeling gratitude being another. Stacking quality decisions on top of mentors. And my favorite is, there is no alternative, perhaps, except hiring cheaper, younger people, right? So let's give it up for Mohammed Massaquoi.